Even while Hollywood has its fair share of tragic tales, some losses really hit the business hard. He turned to her and essentially urged her to back off, saying, "You're spoiling his hide," as she began yelling at the man accompanying him and demanding to know what had transpired. October 31, 1993, was one of those tragic nights. Samantha claims that she was told by someone that he breathed his last breath on the sidewalk of Sunset Boulevard. Johnny Depp's Viper Room was the scene of the collapse of rising star River Phoenix. For decades, Depp kept mostly nothing about the tragic event that was his unexpected demise, which emptied Hollywood of its leading man. Right now, at the age of 61, I felt it was a perfect chance to turn that cliché on its head. Johnny Depp has broken his silence at long last. After that, what transpired? Plus, why is he releasing this statement at this time? Come with us as we decipher Johnny Depp's bombshell confession on the untimely demise of River Phoenix. The Viper Room night that will never be forgotten. That evening of October 30, 1993. As always, the Viper Room on Sunset Strip in Hollywood was hopping. It was common for Depp and his pals to put on spontaneous musical performances at the club, which was famous as a hangout for artists. My approach would have been different. My reaction would have been extreme, I believe. The following night, the brilliant young actor River Phoenix, his siblings Joaquin and Rain, and his fiancée Samantha Mathis hit the club in an effort to unwind after a particularly trying few days. River entered the club with an air of exhaustion. Because many people saw it as more than just a River Phoenix. Despite his unfalteringly upbeat and composed personality. His girlfriend Samantha Mathis, an actress, is speaking out publicly for the first time since his untimely death. According to Samantha's recollection, he seemed to be carrying an unseen burden. The stresses of his personal life and his rising stardom must have taken a toll on him. His weariness was obvious. River, in an effort to assuage the fears of those closest to him, maintained his customary smile throughout his struggles. There was a palpable sense of danger that Samantha could detect but not put her finger on, even though the club was bustling with activity. A sad turn of events occurred rapidly as the night progressed. Claiming to be unwell, River abruptly left the club in the wee hours of October 31. Friends and family who sensed something was amiss were powerless to stop him. Joaquin and Rain were taken aback when River suddenly fainted outside the club a short while after. Joaquin, who was only 19 years old, detailed his brother's situation over the phone to 911 while his voice quivered with fear. People from the club and onlookers around River as she gasped for air. There were last-ditch efforts to bring him back to life, but to no avail. River was already unconscious when paramedics arrived. He was quickly taken to the hospital, where he was pronounced dead a few hours later. According to the findings of the coroner's investigation, River passed away as a result of acute drug intoxication, specifically from the fatal mix of heroin and cocaine. His countless admirers were just as devastated as his family by this awful news. There was complete quiet in the Viper Room following the disaster. The club was closed for a few days by Johnny Depp, who was a co-owner. In remembrance of River, the club thereafter did not host any events on October 31. Although he is notoriously outgoing, Depp kept mum about what happened that night for years out of consideration for the Phoenix family's tremendous loss. Even though Samantha said afterwards that she hadn't witnessed River do drugs that night, she still wasn't certain on what transpired leading up to their arrival at the club. Everyone there that night will never forget seeing Joaquin, terrified and powerless as he fought to rescue his sibling. It was a sad time for the whole Hollywood community, not only the Phoenix family. It was a watershed moment for Joaquin. It inspired him to become an actor, partly so he could carry on River's work. The memory of River Phoenix endures, not just as an eminent actress, but also as a representation of the vulnerability concealed behind the glitter of Hollywood. His life is an example of how the glitter of celebrity can quickly turn to darkness for those who aren't ready to face it. He stepped into the restroom, and upon his return, Samantha witnessed a bouncer essentially removing him from the club. She believed he had truly gotten into a fight when it happened. She didn't see him on the floor convulsing until she stepped outside. Hollywood was forced to face hard realities when River's death shook the entertainment industry. The news was so shocking that it spread like wildfire. Leonardo DiCaprio, who was just starting out in his career, and Keanu Reeves, who played River in My Own Private Idaho, were among those who were deeply saddened by the news of the death. Harrison Ford, who had previously collaborated with River in Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, was among the seasoned performers who conveyed their condolences. The unhealthy atmosphere in Hollywood, which is filled with pressures, drug misuse, and partying, was brought to light by Rivers' death, which served as a sobering reminder of the risks that come with fame. Consequently, there was an effort to improve the availability of mental health services and health protections for young performers. However, many still believe that the entertainment industry hadn't dealt with the issue at its core, even after these adjustments. There was still a lot of pressure to be famous, and no one paid attention to the seedier parts of Hollywood. The independent film scene was left empty when Rivers passed. In terms of popularizing this subgenre, he had been an early trailblazer. You have no idea. I don't think I'm capable of becoming. There was more to his My Own Private Idaho act than meets the eye. He had proven time and again that he could elevate ordinary narratives to the level of epic film. Along with the loss of a brilliant actor, directors like Gus Van Sant lamented the multitude of unrealized creative projects that River had the potential to realize. The death of Joaquin Phoenix's brother was a devastating blow to his psyche. He didn't get well for a long time. However, Joaquin's career was propelled by Rivers' demise. With each accomplishment, he paid tribute to his brother's memory. Joaquin has frequently stated that he was motivated to become an actor by Rivers' unwavering dedication to the field. Even though we were unaware of it, the entertainment publications in our house revealed that River was a major actor and movie star. In every role he plays, he carries on his brother's accomplishments. The public at large re-evaluated the demands placed on young celebrities in the wake of Rivers' death, and not only in Hollywood. People are attempting to sneak onto your farm, and there are helicopters flying over as well. It seemed to me that it was a hindrance to the grieving process, wasn't it? They were perceived as mere human beings, not as inviolable symbols, but as individuals coping with incomprehensible stresses. The media came under fire for adding to the unseen stresses that celebrities experienced, since it had frequently capitalized on their private lives. The tragic death of Rivers brought attention to the human cost of fame. Even after all this time has passed, River Phoenix's remarkable talent, caring personality, and principles are still talked about. Through his on-screen performances and his off-screen life, he has left an impression that inspires generations to come. The end of an ambitious career was more than merely signaled by his death. Hollywood and the general public learned the hard way the significance of empathy and support for people thrust into the limelight and the real cost of fame. Even now, after all these years, Johnny Depp is still hurting from that loss. River was a young man with high principles and a spotless reputation. How did he become caught up in the drug trade? Was he driven to this decision by the immense strain of fame? On the other hand, was it something more profound that he had been secretly battling? We will discover. Johnny Depp's shocking revelation. Johnny Depp has broken his silence over the fateful night that killed River Phoenix after years of silence. Depp started off a recent interview by praising River's incredible talent in both his professional and personal life. He said, "River radiates warmth and light. His aura was one of warmth, intelligence, and depth, which Depp said was unusual for someone so young. The moment you met him, you could tell he was special." Talking about that tragic night at the Viper Room, Depp said that thinking about it still makes him very sad. He went on to say that River was more than simply a friend of his. To him, he was like a younger brother in show business. The sad turn of events that night was completely unexpected, according to Depp. What began as an innocent gathering of friends to listen to music and unwind turned into an unfathomable tragedy. Seeing River lifeless on the sidewalk and the overwhelming sense of powerlessness that washed over Depp were both etched in his memory. The one thing that kept running through Depp's mind was the desire to be able to change the past and stop what had happened. Even now, he can't shake the memory. The way Hollywood handled up-and-coming actors and actresses at the time was another source of disappointment for Depp. The glitz and excess of the entertainment industry, he said, put the mental and emotional health of young performers in the background. He described River as a really sensitive person who was suddenly pushed into an environment that wasn't necessarily a nurturing or helpful one. The atmosphere was unhealthy, and the demands and expectations put on him were too much to bear. Unfortunately, Depp's observation that Hollywood lacked the essential support networks to care for those in need is still true today. Johnny Depp discussed why he chose to keep silent over River Phoenix's death for a long time. He expressed his desire to spare River's family any additional suffering, saying that the loss was excruciating. Depp believed that making a statement too quickly would have brought unneeded focus to a personal tragedy. According to Depp, he was concerned that his remarks might be sensationalized or make it into the news. I wanted to show River and his family my deepest condolences at this personal time of loss. Depp thinks it's crucial to revisit the story now that some time has gone, for the sake of both paying tribute to River and drawing lessons from the tragedy. The loss of River wasn't limited to his family and friends, it affected people all over the globe, as Depp thought about it. To him, River Phoenix was representing honesty and integrity. Someone who wholeheartedly dedicated themselves to their work while steadfastly upholding their strongly held principles. Depp went on to say that he hoped River would be remembered for more than his acting chops. A good person at heart, he wished the world a better future for everybody. The fact that his potential was never fully realized is tragic. Had an enduring effect on the film industry and beyond. The roles that River played in films such as My Own Private Idaho and Stand By Me established his reputation as an actor with depth and authenticity. Environmental protection and animal rights were causes near and dear to his heart, and he was an ardent advocate for both. Tragically, he ended a bright career in 1993 when he overdosed outside the Viper Room, shocking the globe. As if paying tribute to his late buddy River Phoenix, Johnny Depp paused briefly at the conclusion of his address. According to him, there is a mix of melancholy and thankfulness that he experiences anytime River is in his thoughts. Depp spoke about how lucky he felt to have encountered and collaborated with someone so extraordinary. The memory of River will remain ingrained in our hearts, in Hollywood's annals, and in all of our lives, according to Depp. What Depp said wasn't just a reminiscence of that fateful night. They also made a strong case for why it's critical to nurture and safeguard youthful talent in the cutthroat Hollywood industry. Tragically, River's life was cut short, yet his legacy lives on. His iconic performances have touched the lives of many and served as an inspiration to many more performers and directors. The influence that River had on Joaquin Phoenix's career is something that Phoenix frequently brings up in interviews. Fans all around the globe will never forget River for more than just his incredible talent, they will also never forget his real warmth and authenticity. We are reminded of the transience of life and the need of savoring each moment as Johnny Depp remembers that tragic night. Although he is no longer physically present, River Phoenix's legacy will endure via his films, the love of his fans, and the wisdom he shared about enduring the challenges of stardom while remaining authentic. So, when did the adventure of River Phoenix start? We should examine it more closely. Ancestry and ascent to stardom. The unorthodox lifestyle of River Jude Phoenix's family welcomed him into this world on August 23, 1970, in Madras, Oregon. John and Arlen Phoenix, his parents, were nomadic nomads who desired a life of simplicity and frequently relocated across the country. They rejected conventional wisdom and advocated a life in harmony with nature. On the other hand, they were associated with the contentious religious group the Children of God as they sought an alternate way of life. Things were very unstable during River's formative years. The mental and financial toll of their itinerant lifestyle was heavy on him and his family. River, the eldest of 5 siblings, carried the brunt of the family's responsibilities and endured trials that molded his profound empathy and emotional complexity. Regardless, River showed exceptional artistic ability at a young age. He and his siblings would go door to door performing music and skits to earn money for the family. Street performances served as much than simply a survival mechanism. They were formative experiences that taught River the importance of being genuine and passionate when performing in front of an audience. As an actor, he was later defined by his innate talent for making an emotional connection with audiences through his work. The Phoenix family eventually made their home in Los Angeles, where Hollywood quickly took notice of River's exceptional abilities and launched him into celebrity. A talent management agency saw River Phoenix's incredible skill in 1979, and that was the turning point in his life. He was exceptional among kid actors because of his innate talent for conveying profound feelings. His stunning good looks and his talent for portraying honest emotions on cinema made him famous. After appearing in a number of supporting parts, River finally broke through in 1986 with the coming-of-age picture Stand By Me. He seemed completely at home in the role of Chris Chambers, a disturbed yet very sympathetic young man. River didn't merely play the part, he embodied it with his expressive eyes and genuine performance. Critics lauded his performance, describing it as forceful and memorable, and the picture was a huge hit. Even though he was only 16 years old, River had already established himself as an exceptional young actor. He possessed extraordinary depth as a performer. Playing parts that pushed the envelope creatively was his way of pushing himself to his limits. He portrayed a young man in the 1988 film Running on Empty who was conflicted over whether to be loyal to his runaway parents or follow his aspirations. He was nominated for an Oscar for a performance so poignant. After that, in 1991's My Own Private Idaho, he gave a legendary performance as a young guy on the run from home who suffers from narcolepsy and is trying to find his place in the world. After playing the part, he was widely recognized as one of the most talented and courageous actors working in Hollywood. River maintained a steadfast dedication to telling meaningful stories, in contrast to many of her fellow rising stars who became entangled in Hollywood's superficial side. Fame, in and of itself, didn't pique his curiosity. He aspired to create meaningful and impactful films. His career was evidence of his honesty as an artist and his unique talent for making every role he played ring true. The principles that River Phoenix upheld in his performing roles were carefully considered. He had loftier ambitions than becoming a movie star. He aspired to be a maker of meaningful art. He loved being creative in many ways, acting being only one of them. He also valued music highly. He and his sister Rain Phoenix formed the band Alakazattic, and he was both the lead vocalist and lyricist. There was more to this than meets the eye. His beliefs were expanded upon in this way. River used his music as a platform to advocate for causes such as animal rights, environmental protection, and humanitarian aid. Among his many themes were environmental protection and advocating on behalf of the voiceless. River had to overcome the hardships of street performing to support his family before he became famous. More than just a climb to fame, though, was his path from playing music to survive to appearing in big Hollywood blockbusters. His unfaltering commitment to honesty and integrity was demonstrated by this. There was more to him than meets the eye. In a business where profit is often the driving force, he embodied a unique brand of idealism. There was depth and complexity to River Phoenix's life, and he made a genuine attempt to live according to his values. His acting and music had a genuine effect on people's lives, and he was a symbol of sincerity in addition to being an exceptional artist. It wasn't easy for him to go from making ends meet as a musician to starring in Hollywood blockbusters. In what ways may he have faced difficulties? I propose we go further. Struggles that I face on an individual basis. Actress River Phoenix was a genuine celebrity with a sensitive heart who struggled under the strains of Hollywood's glitzy but often lonely existence. River became the main breadwinner for his family when he was a teenager, coming from a poor background. From an ordinary youngster to a global phenomenon, he went from stand-up comedy star to his breakthrough role in Stand By Me. Sadly, he soon learned that his newfound popularity was more of a drag than a boon. River never aspired to be famous, even though she achieved levels of renown that most people only dream of. I simply want to act so that I can support my family financially. I am not interested in being famous, he said once. A profound inner struggle was shown by this confession. Was deeply engrossed in his work as an artist, yet he found himself trapped in a world where he was constantly watched. He ended up in the middle of an image-obsessed industry, where comparisons to James Dean and other legends became continuous, instead of exploring meaningful roles, which was his original goal. Over time, he became exhausted from the great strain to meet these high expectations. It was safe to say that River was a stickler for detail. He had no interest in pursuing superficial fame or financial success. Even if they weren't surefire box office hits, he pursued parts that had artistic merit. In a field where appearing a certain way was paramount to success, his refusal to play parts that went against his values set him apart. Because of her frequent feelings of alienation in Hollywood's opulent but shallow environment, River's sense of solitude intensified. River had internal struggles related to his extremely sensitive nature in addition to the external stresses. The injustices he witnessed had a deep impact on him. River donated a large portion of his wealth to organizations that he believed in since he was such a strong supporter of animal rights and environmental protection. But it seemed like nothing he did ever quite cut it. His friends recalled times when River would go into profound contemplation, paralyzed with anxiety that he wasn't making a significant impact. Although his heightened sensitivity made him a wonderful human being, it also contributed to his crippling self-doubt. Substance abuse became a coping mechanism as he sought solace from the ever-present burden of his inner battles brought on by the increasing demands placed upon him. River Phoenix's drug use began as a short-term solution to cope with the pressures in his life, but it soon became an unhealthy obsession. His calm demeanor and seeming strength belied a man whose mental stability was deteriorating. He thought the Hollywood parties would make him happy and free, but they only served to push him closer to his own destruction. Rivalry between River's principles and the harsh, frequently hypocritical, truths of the entertainment industry reflected his inner conflicts. Defiantly standing out for the rights of animals and the environment, he was a dedicated vegan. Because he valued honesty and morality more than fame and riches, he declined several playing roles and lucrative advertising deals. Struggling to balance his values with his work, he lived by his strong ideals in an industry that often disregarded them. "I refuse to stand for anything or be a symbol," River once declared. "All I want is to be authentic." However, being genuine was a luxury that few could afford in the Hollywood industry, where showmanship frequently takes precedence over substance. It was profoundly spiritual, not only an emotional fight. He struggled to find a way to escape the industry's insistence on conformity and the ideal world he wanted to defend. It was hard for him to relax because of all the stress, causing him to be consumed by an ongoing struggle within. Pressures from all directions, including his job, his principles, and the expectations put on him eventually were too much for him to handle, no matter how hard he tried to maintain a steady equilibrium. They gradually pushed him closer to the edge. As an idealist who battled valiantly to uphold his principles while being ensnared by the superficial trappings of the Hollywood machine, River Phoenix exemplified a delicate yet pure spirit. The popularity that could have lifted him up became a prison, sapping his strength and happiness until he could do nothing more to break free. After Johnny Depp's surprising disclosure on River Phoenix's terrible death, what are your thoughts on the matter? Leave a comment below and tell us what you think. It would mean a lot if you liked and subscribed.